So Xangang is one of the most creative and boundary-pushing producers in the underground without question, being pretty much solely responsible for popularizing the infamous Scarface samples and creating and inspiring a lot of today's most popular and important underground subgenres, all of which is paired along with him playing a massive role in the careers of artists like SlimeSito, Weiland, Young Bands, Autumn, KanKan, and obviously Summrs. It's no wonder why he's become such a legendary name in the underground. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, how did Xangang get started?
Yeah, spark that hell up. Spark that hell up. Spark that hell up.
Born August 3rd of 1999, Romello Robinson, also known as Xangang, would grow up alongside his brother, which is another well-known and honestly legendary producer in the underground scene named Rob Surreal. Famously the founder of one of the most well-known underground collectives in the scene called Surreal Gang. And he's also very well known for his production on a track you've likely heard called Murder She Wrote by TK. This track, alongside his other placements for artists like Diego Money, Autumn, Summrs, Duop Kane, SlimeSito, and the list keeps going. But looking deeper into their early lives and how it was growing up in a borough within New York City called Brooklyn, their experience growing up was mostly summed up by Rob Surreal in his interview with a group called Sleepwalker, where he talks about life overall being smooth growing up with both parents, but also, like most areas, having more than its fair share of violence and obstacles. But fast forwarding sometime later into their teen years, with Rob Surreal getting heavily into artists and producers like Kanye, Chief Keef, Earl Sweatshirt, Zaytoven, Young Gleesh, and especially Lil B, it would help inspire Xangang and Surreal into giving music a try. And whilst going into mid-2015, being that Xangang was heavily into and also inspired by Chief Keef, he would naturally be into artists within Chief Keef's collective, Gang, which is actually how he originally got his name, Xangang, which comes off of a verse from a Lil Flash song called Police, where kinda in the middle or towards the end, he says this. And around this same time, Rob Surreal also wasn't even Rob Surreal. He originally went under two other names, one being Rob the Rebel and the other Rob the Architect, where he also had an old Twitter account under the same handle where he would endlessly spam tweet at Lil B the Bass God and also end up teasing one of his first official tapes ever, which was a collab with Xangang called Rebel Series, which sadly this has since been deleted off the internet, but yeah. But continuing further into 2015, Rob Surreal and Xangang would later in the same year tease another collab and go on to release one of their earliest instrumentals, which was dropped July 26th of 2015, and was a teaser for a supposed collab tape that never ended up dropping called Dolphinos. And this would be one of the earliest instrumentals coming from both Surreal and Xangang and would kind of set the pace going forward for their progression. And from here, both Surreal and Xangang would continually work and steadily improve, dropping instrumental snippets and type beats on both YouTube and SoundCloud, most of which nowadays has either been deleted or archived. But this was only the early beginnings and would slowly transition us into 2016, which is kinda when Xangang really started to form a name in the scene, uploading his first official Playboy Cardi type beat to his YouTube channel on March 5th of 2016, which is around the same time that he would start up his original Twitter account on March 9th of 2016, with the original handle being @XanGangSGM, with SGM standing for Surreal Gang Music and likely signifying the early beginnings of Rob Surreal's legendary group, Surreal Gang, which at this time it was only really a shell of what it would grow to become and wouldn't really take form until 2017. And Xangang's style throughout this whole period of 2016 and throughout a large portion of his career was heavily influenced by arguably the most impactful and the most heavily underrated group in the underground scene, Pluggz, being solely responsible for creating the infamous Plugg tag and also consisting of some of the most talented producers in the scene as a whole, with artists like Corey Lingo, Stupid Zool, Playboy Shawty, and Mexico Dro, all of which are producers that could have a documentary of their own. But like mostly any other producer around this time, this early into the career, now it was time to network and get yourself out there. With a lot of his earlier tweets mainly promoting his earlier, now deleted type beats, mainly posted on sites like SoundCloud and YouTube. And a lot of his other tweets, mainly like other producers at this time, were reaching out for collabs from other established producers at the time like Chinatown Beats, Captain Crunch, 909 Memphis, Mexico Dro, and Stupid Zool. All of which, aside from a select few, he would eventually end up working with, including later into the same year, Corey Lingo, which is a legendary underground producer and R&B singer and is also the same producer that Xangang himself credits as the original Pluggnb producer and creator. To summarize, a lot of fans pinpoint Summrs' original track Pack Runner Bitch as the first Pluggnb track, which in some respects is right. From the flow into the hook and just a lot of the elements in this track are something that we'd be more accustomed to in a typical 2018 era Pluggnb track, but instrumental and style wise, Xangang credits Corey Lingo's instrumental for Uno the Activist's song New Money, released in early 2016 as the original Pluggnb instrumental. And if we're talking purely instrumental wise, yeah, this track features a very R&B sounding lead, along with Uno doing a kind of more Plugg sounding delivery, but still the instrumental does just have that Pluggnb sound. And obviously, although the sound isn't as developed back then, it's still kind of just cool to look back over 6 years and see where kind of the roots were set. But diving back into 2016, for now, a lot of Xangang's placements naturally were coming from artists that are nowadays either out of the scene or just gone in general. But there still are a lot of different cases with artists like Drippin So Pretty, which is an artist well known for his connection with GBC, also known as Gothboy Click, and also has an extensive old catalog of mostly deleted Xangang collabs. And going even further back, there are singles from artists like Goonie, or at the time Lil Goonie, along with some old P2 the Gold Mask, Young Bands, Thouxanbanfauni tracks, and even some singles from Weiland, with tracks like Racks Up and Demons, which is still a single that gets played even nowadays. And all of this alongside the push from popular underground music pages at the time like DJ Phatt and Dreamplugg, along with Xangang picking up steam and gaining notoriety as a producer due to his collabs with other Surreal Gang members like Osiri, Alto SGP, and at the time Cappy the Goat. And at this time he was also dropping his well-known sample series according to months around this time, with most of 2016 sample packs from months of September through to December being archived away with links that only really show its concept image, but still sadly not being available. And now that we're towards the end of 2016, we have 24K Golden, which as far as I'm aware, this collab never came together, but still the fact that these two could have had a track together is pretty wild. But nonetheless, we have quite an important year in Xangang's career, 2017. Diving into 2017, starting with an at the time insignificant collab that would later go on to be a legendary one, we have Summrs. Summrs would end up using an instrumental from Xangang on his first available tape called I Believe in Myself, released January 18th of 2017. And it's unknown if he asked for permission for this instrumental or not, due to him also using a stolen instrumental on track 5 of this same tape, which was called Polar and was funnily enough stolen from KanKan, but you know, who really knows. But this year for Xangang was filled with an endless amount of notable placements from artists like Diego Money on tracks like 2 Glock Shotty, to Stacy Money, to Summrs, to Warhol.ss, to Smoke Perp, to even artists like both Famous Dex and Reggie Mills on their collab called On My Way. And artists like both Young Bands and Weiland would continue to be consistent, dropping frequent singles and even tapes, with Weiland dropping his second currently available project called Pack Runner, which features production mainly from yours truly. And this all paired alongside Xangang's continuous improvement and his collective Surreal Gang gaining members such as Thrill Boy, which opened up even further doors for possible collabs and placements. Everything was kind of heading on the right path, especially coming towards the end of 2017, where Xangang would collab with an artist that really did carve out his own wave and sound called SlimeSito. Their earliest collabs came on a tape released December 4th of 2017 called Cutthroat, in which Xangang produced 3 out of the 4 tracks featured, all of which feature a sound that nowadays has been labeled as Darkplugg, which, as the name would imply, this subgenre merges together the styles of Plugg that Dro and Sula use with a more darker cinematic sounding main melody to create Darkplugg. And still, while the official creator of Darkplugg hasn't necessarily been labeled, personally for me and a lot of others, Xangang is considered the creator. But still, other producers like Eddie Gianni, 2x2, K-Sock, I think that's how you say it, Sensei ATL, and obviously Xangang are all huge parts of what made the sound what it is nowadays, and would give yet another great ending to the year of 2017. Now for 2018, we kick this year off with one of the earliest collabs between Autumn and Xangang on one of their earliest tapes called Bugga World, alongside most notably the release of Valentine's Day 2K18 sample pack released March 14th of 2018, exclusively on Xangang's SoundCloud, which would be the instrumental that we're all familiar with for a song called Pack Runner Bitch. This track wouldn't instantly take off, but it would certainly build up its own wave, being that at the time it had a very unique sound paired along with Summrs' extremely dedicated fan base and the hype built around his name and sound. It was just a crazy time for both artists. And with both Summrs and Xangang realizing what they had, they worked together on over 6 projects spanning throughout the rest of 2018, not even including some of the just insane singles with tracks like Ain't Gon' Lie and Bezos, which just has a one-of-a-kind instrumental. But 2018 was far from just a year about Summrs, with artists like YSGOG, 10K Duncan, Xangang, Goonie, Zelly Ocho, SlimeSito, and most notably Weiland and Autumn, both of which would end up releasing tapes that would really push their careers forward. With Weiland's tape, Grimy Youth, being extremely well received and often considered some of the best music from this era of like just Weiland's music in general, and Autumn's tape, Retribution 3, being an almost breakout tape with the lead single Nina, produced by Xangang and Goyard, being arguably one of the most overplayed and popular singles to come out of the underground from like the last 5 years. It was just overall a really good year. And that will be the end of the video. I know it seems a bit random and sudden to stop it at this point, but the reason I stopped it here is that most of the story past this will just be me saying he got a placement here, or you know, that kind of thing. Which most of this video was that, but you know, it's different. I mostly made this video to kind of do through the early history of Xangang, since it is really muddy, and it's mostly, basically this whole video was done through Twitter. Because so many podcasts, so many different things have been taken down or just archived away that you just can't like really find anything about them. But nevertheless, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you had a fun time. If you did, like, sub, comment, do whatever you do to show appreciation or love, and I will see you guys next time. I don't know when that'll be, but soon.